All right, there we go. All right, so just some quick reminders. This is Math 154. Math 154. Today is August 31st. If you have not signed up for my math lab, I did email you Sunday. If you have not signed up for my math lab at this point, please do so before the end of class. So before 9:45 p.m. or you'll be deleted from the course. It is so important to just get that access to my math lab. I understand that some of you are saying that, like it's back orders on the codes, the mail may be taking a while, or, you don't want to purchase it from Pearson, you're waiting to purchase it from the bookstore. That's perfectly fine, but please take advantage of that 14-day trial so that you are, keeping up with the class. You're not going to fall behind because you're waiting on an access code. You have 14 days for free. And I'm pretty sure your access code will arrive within those 14 days. Okay. And if not, there are some things that TCC can do for us, but please, please, please register for my math lab. I don't want to waste your time. I definitely want you to go ahead and get that access so that you can keep up with the course. I don't want you to fall behind because these Excel assignments and homeworks are a big deal. They can be, it's pretty lengthy. It's definitely a time consuming task. Although like once you get into the flow of it and you get a gist of everything, it's a little less timing, but you just don't want to fall behind. So please sign up for my math lab, or I'll have to delete you from the course, because if you can't take 5 minutes to access my math lab, then you just may not be quite ready for the course in general. Okay. And again, I am recording, so I'm doing my very best to make sure that no one's camera is, no one's face is showing, because I am uploading these recordings to YouTube, because the videos are so long, I can't upload it to Canvas. Okay. All right, so back to my announcements. You definitely want to read ahead. I mentioned that today we're starting chapter 0. So before today, I would have, like I had mentioned, reading chapter 0 before today, but if you did not do so, please read it this evening, or, as soon as you get a chance, and then go ahead and continue to read chapter 1, section 1. Just pace yourself. We only meet one time a week. So you do not want to wait until that one time we meet to do anything. You definitely want to kind of dedicate anywhere between an hour, hour and a half every day to this class, whether it's reading a chapter, maybe just working on one sheet of your guided worksheet, maybe even opening and downloading Excel and playing around in that in your assignments. Okay, so continue to make some type of progress every day. So we are going to complete chapter 0 spreadsheet completely together. Okay, I'm gonna play a video today, but we will complete chapter 0 spreadsheet. We're creating a spreadsheet from scratch. We're gonna complete that together, step by step, from following the steps in chapter 0. You still have exactly 1 week to submit it. So we will work on it today. However, you have until September 7th, 11:59 p.m. to submit it in Canvas. I'm going to create that space after class today. So you have to complete chapter 0 spreadsheet by September 7th. Again, this is a spreadsheet we are going to do together in class, or more so you get a chance to watch the demonstration of how to do this spreadsheet, and then you have some time at the end of class to partner up or, begin working on it on your own. And I cannot stress this enough. You want to practice Excel every day, as much as you can, so that you are successful in the course. All right, hold on 1 second. So let me do a new share. And pausing it for a second. I don't want anyone's information to pop up. My computer is moving super slow. If you're just joining us, you only missed the announcements. Okay, hold on. Who just joined us? Okay, so let me go ahead and do a new share. I'm going to go ahead into my math lab now. Okay, so just a quick reminder of how to access. I'm sorry, guys. You can even see it. Like my mouse is not moving when I move. Okay, so I'm going to go to Canvas just for demonstration purposes on how to get to chapter 0 since that's where we will be today. So I'm going to go to Canvas. I'll go to our course. And then on the left, I'm going to click on My Lab and Mastering. And I'm going to click on Open My Lab and Mastering, the yellow button. My screen is still up again.
We can't see what you're doing.
Okay, I just fixed it. Okay, thank you. I apologize. It's a delay over here again. Okay, so I'll start from scratch. My apologies. So I'll go ahead and open Canvas. Okay, and then, from your published courses, you want to click on Our Class. On the far left side, you want to click on My Lab and Mastering. And then you want to click on Open My Lab and Mastering, that mustard colored button. And it will take you directly to Pearson. It'll take you directly to My Math Lab. And then what you want to do is on the left, you want to go to e-text content. E-text content. And click on chapter 0. Okay. You also have, now I went back based on this meeting only once a week. All of your guided worksheets will not be, I won't assign every one of them because that will become a lot for you, especially with trying to keep up with the homework assignments for each section and a weekly Excel assignment and like guided worksheets that could range from 4 to 8 pages. So not every sections or chapters guided worksheets will be assigned for grade. I will let you know a week prior. I will certainly let you know plenty of time beforehand. So I say that to say, although it is not, I'm not going to take chapter 0 because for this, we're going to do chapter 0's Excel assignment together. So for your chapter 0 guided worksheet, I still highly suggest that you download the guided worksheet, that you complete the worksheet for your own knowledge because you're going to see it again on the midterm. Each chapter builds upon the one prior. So it's some very, very important information in here. So you want to download your guided worksheets. And let me just share my screen all together so I don't have to worry about this. Download that guided worksheet for chapter 0. This one is 17 pages. Like I said, they can get lengthy, but it's really not 17 pages, just some large screenshots in there. So fill in your notes, and I will always announce beforehand whether it is to be turned in for a grade or not. Okay. So for this week, just because we're still just kind of getting into the motions of everything, chapter 0 guided worksheets are not assigned. I mean, they're not due for a grade. However, I do assign them just as highly recommended. Complete the notes so that you have them. All right, so if you want to go ahead and download that if you had not yet. I do suggest though, I know I had some other students mention it before, like me right now, my computer is dragging some. So I do suggest trying to download as much as you can before we meet in the evenings. That way you aren't trying to download and run Zoom. You're not taking, because Zoom takes so much of your bandwidth. So try to download these before we meet. All right, so I'll go back to chapter 0. We're going to start in section 0.1. So this is where you're going to click on 0.1 and then you're going to click on the explore button. Okay, so just a suggestion, and it's completely up to you. It just also depends on your level of how comfortable you are with technology. You can do a split screen where you can try to have Zoom, like have Zoom as one half of your screen, like this. Like just pretend that's Zoom. It's not Pearson, it's Zoom. Where you can see my screen, the screen share. And I know immediately when I screen share, it goes to full screen. So hit the escape key in the upper left corner. And you should be able to minimize it. I don't think the restrictions out there for that, but try to make the screen share half your screen, and then the other half, make that your Excel assignment. I mean, your Excel. So open Excel. I'm just going to open a blank document for now and try to split my screen. So this is one suggestion for you. If you are able to split your screen, like I said, you have to be super comfortable with technology where you can kind of watch the screen share on the right side, and on the left side, try to follow along with each step. If not, then you may just want to be someone to, and this was what I'm kind of comfortable with as well, watching the screen share, watch the video, or my demonstration, whatnot, and taking notes. So take some notes, and then after the lecture, go back and open Excel, and then begin with step 1. So how you go about it is completely up to you. It's whatever you are comfortable with. So hold on a second, I have to switch screens again. And I'm just gonna have to play the demonstration. One second, let me get it going. So today is going to be that intro to Excel. I'm just going to fast forward. Okay, guys, if I get kicked out of Zoom, just hang tight in here. I will be right back. The worst. Okay, so like I was saying, today is chapter 0, which is basically an introduction to Excel. We're just going to look at a lot of the functionality of it. Again, whatever you're most comfortable with. If you have 2 laptops, maybe you can, or a laptop and desktop, maybe you can have Zoom playing. And we watched it, watching the demonstration, and on the other screen, you could actually execute in Excel. If not, you could do the split screen. Maybe that'll work for you. And if not, you could just watch the demonstration, take some notes, and then you'll have time to ask questions and complete it for the second half of class. Okay, so let's take a look. Are there any questions before we begin with this? Any questions? Okay, so I will say, if after the demonstration, if you have no questions and you're comfortable and you want to kind of, and I get it, sometimes you have to close Zoom so that you can have your computer moved, properly, then you absolutely may, I'll dismiss those of you that are comfortable, no questions and ready. You can jump out of Zoom, work on your Excel file for that, remainder of class period, and just make sure you're submitting it by September 7th, so by next Tuesday. If you are someone who wants to jump out and jump back in, you absolutely can. You have that flexibility there, okay? So I didn't see any questions in the chat. No problem. Just write them down, and let's go ahead and take a look at the demonstration for chapter 0, the first half.
Now, sometimes it might not open the first time. I believe you may open up. And then we hit explore.
So one more time, if you want to go ahead, open up that textbook, you want to go to My Lab and Mastering in Canvas, click on Open My Lab and Mastering. Once you're in My Math Lab, on the left side, you want to click E-Text Contents. We're going to start with section 01, and then you want to click on the blue button for Explore. So here we go.
We're going to start with 0.1, and then we hit explore. And then the textbook will open up. Now, sometimes it might not open the first time. I believe you may have seen me on the intro day. That happened to me. So then you close it and try and open it again. Occasionally, my math lab might be glitching, and it is just not working. It could be your software or hardware. It could be a lot of things, but hopefully we get it resolved. Sometimes the hyperlinks look appropriate. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they work appropriately. Sometimes they don't. I mean, when I say sometimes, I mean generally 95, 98% of the time they're working. So definitions, you can find little videos and stuff. You go between the pages by using these tabs on the left and the right. If you know a specific page you want to go to, you can actually type it in this little screen here that is hidden by my Zoom menus. There's little blips and bulletins and things like that for pointers that we'll be talking about. Anything with a little play button is a video that you can pull up and play. And some of these things are going to be similar to what you'll see me talk about today. So obviously we're not going to watch those. So again, that's how you can get to your textbook. And you can just go from section to section. To get to 0.2, I don't have to close the book, go back to the main My Math Lab page. I can just keep scrolling, and there we go, 0.2. I can keep scrolling, and eventually I'll get to 0.3. All right. So.
Okay. So Excel. Excel. The reason it's called Excel is because it uses cells, and it's excellent, right? We can excel with cells. So when you open Excel, if you're using Excel and not any of those other programs I mentioned that you're not supposed to be using, if you're using the downloaded version of Excel and not the online version, which I said you're not supposed to be using because all of those other things have problems and will cause you to lose points on assignments, I guarantee it. This is what Excel will most likely look like. And you may have a couple subtle detail differences based on what version you're on. I think I'm on like the next to most recent version personally. And if you downloaded it, you should be on the most recent, but don't hold me to that. And it might not be anything that looks different here, but it's just a sub menu, might have another option or two. And my computer is chugging really badly right now, so this might be fun. Hopefully no issues. Again, knock on wood. I should have insulted technology earlier, right? So you can zoom in and out on this. If you have a scroll wheel on your mouse, scrolling up and down takes you to lower cells. You can see the numbers getting higher and higher because I'm scrolling down more and more. If you hold Control down, which is on most of your keyboards, the bottom left button, you can actually zoom in and out when it wants to work. There we go. Nope, don't look at that. So I tried to open that about 45 minutes ago and it literally just opened. Sorry about that. It was just emails. It's nothing, no private information or anything. But so yeah, when your computer's working properly, I'm holding Control and scrolling on my mouse wheel to zoom in and out. There are other ways to do pretty much everything in Excel. If you go into View, that's probably where the zoom is. Yep, so you can zoom in and out that way. But I just like using Control because it's a little quicker for me. So you'll see these letters across the top, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, etc. And if you go far enough right, you'll actually get to letters like A, B, A, C, A, D. So it's not like there's just limited to 26, and these are called columns. So each of these letters, this is a column. So this is the U column. This is the Z column. Z column being the 26th column. The Y column being the 25th column. A column being the first column. Columns are up and down. Think about when you look at one of those fancy buildings with columns on them, whether it's a library, a house, or whatever. Columns are vertical, so that's why our columns are vertical in Excel. Again, columns are vertical. When I'm doing this is me highlighting cells. I'm just clicking a cell with my left mouse button and I'm dragging around. I can highlight an entire column or part of a column. I can highlight a section of a row. So if columns are vertical, rows are horizontal and labeled by numbers. I can label several columns and several rows. I said label, I meant to say highlight. Now, when you highlight cells, then you can do other things with them, but let's not get into that yet. So, textbook. Again, what our goal is to ultimately do is to build the spreadsheet that you'll see in this textbook and in the guided worksheets. There are nice little notes here. When you open Excel, it gives you a blank workbook. Note that it says Book 1-Excel at the top. You can think of a workbook as a 3-ring binder that contains worksheets, and you can have other tabs. So note that there is, on the bottom, there's a Sheet tab. Double-click it to rename it. So let's go back to Excel. It says Sheet 1. If I double-click it, I can name it whatever I like. And I believe the name we want to give it is Sales Order Form. And then you can hit Enter, and there you go. So now it's just got a more specific name, kind of like tabs on a web browser generally have the website's name or something along the lines. Instead of just saying Book 1, well, what's Book 1? It's going to be a sales order form. So they also say you can move to a different worksheet by clicking on the Sheet tab. So just like you can make new tabs in a web browser, if I hit this button, I would have another tab and I can go to another website. As you can see, I'm a fan of multiple tabs. This is all my work stuff, my YouTube uploads, my Google Drive. Got to go through 50 different things to open up Zoom and my math lab and your course. It's set in Canvas. So if we hit the plus symbol next to that, you get a new tab. So it's, for Chrome, this is in the top right section generally. For Excel, it's bottom left. Sorry about my floating start menu at the bottom. So now we've got another sheet, and I can make another and another and another and another, but I'm not going to. So now if I type something here, let's just type a 5 in cell D6. So cells are labeled based on the column, then the number. Sorry, the column, then the row, or the letter, and then the number. So if I just type a 5 there, if I go to sheet 2, it's not there. Also, I've zoomed in a little on this sheet, but this is the default size. So everything, oops, go away. Sorry, my video menu popped up. Where was I? I got distracted. So again, everything, blah, blah, blah. That's not going to be in the other one. If I zoom in super close on this one, the other one is still zoomed out as it was. All right. The undo button is my favorite friend. So let's say I typed in 56 here, I hit enter and I go, oh no, I wasn't supposed to type that. Sure, I can just go back to it and delete it. But if you're dealing with Excel formulas, sometimes it'll act a little wonky and you can't just do it super easy. You might be making another mistake. So this right here is your undo button. This is my best friend. If you hover over it, it'll probably tell you what the last thing it's going to undo. Undo typing 56 in cell D3. Also, you can see that it says you can use Control and Z to undo something. So this is me hitting undo. And I might go, well, wait, no, it was fine. It was fine. So I can hit redo. And that's Control Y as well. So now I'm not over that undo. I can hit Control Z, undo, Control Y, redo. And you can undo several steps. So I type a 45 here, a 69 here, a 111 here. I can undo, 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 undo. I believe there is an ultimate limit to how many times you can undo, but it's probably a very large number, and I don't know it off the top of my head. But that's okay. Nobody says I have to. All right, next page. Across the top of the spreadsheet is the ribbon, which consists of menus or tabs whose names are given at the very top, things like File, Home, Insert, Page Layout, Formulas, Data, Review, View, etc., etc., etc. The figure below displays the Home tab, which is where we'll be in a lot of the time. There's only a few tabs that we really need to use that much. It's mainly Home, Insert, maybe Formulas if you really wanted to go that way, and then Charts when you go to create a chart. So for now, note that the Home menu is subdivided into groups: clipboard, font, alignment, number, style, cells, editing, etc., etc. Clicking on the little arrow next to a group name opens a dialog box and gives a full range of options beyond just the few shortcuts shown. So what's that talking about? It's saying, all right, here's all the different things in the ribbon. And these are the little drop-down arrows it was mentioning. So right now, there's a paint bucket icon with highlighter yellow. So on this cell D3, if I click it, like I said, my computer's chugging for some reason, and then it highlights it. I could have several cells activated and highlighted, and I can paint them that way. If I hit the drop-down menu, though, I can select a whole bunch of different colors. Maybe I want that cell to be puke green. Maybe I want it to be this weird tangerine orange color. Maybe I want it to be some baby blue color. So you can have that cell be baby blue. I could have this cell be just like charcoal black. I could make these cells over here lime green, kinda. You get the idea. You have all sorts of drop-down menus for other things. Like there's this cash symbol, which formats things to currency, American currency, if you just click the dollar symbol. So like if I have a 5 here, that's just a 5. It has no sense of, denomination, scale, whatever. Is it 5 feet? Is it 5 bowling balls? Is it $5? Well, if I hit this button, it makes it dollars. And it even puts it to 2 decimal places because naturally our money's dollars and cents. So 5.00, $5.00. But maybe our currency isn't the American system. Maybe it's the pound. So there we go, 5 pounds. Or maybe it's the euro. Or maybe it's the yen. And then there's even more options if you go in here, but I'm not going to show that. Maybe you needed this to be a percent instead. Now you might say, well, wait a second, you had a 5 typed. Why did it turn into 500%? Because 1 is 100%. 1 as a decimal is 100%. So 5 as a decimal value is 500%. If I wanted it to display 5%, I'd have to type 0.05. Then I can activate that cell, click the percent, and that'll make it 5%. You can change the amount of decimals that are displayed. So maybe even though this is a whole percent, maybe you just want to see it written, wrong one, as 5.0% or 5.00%, or you get the idea. You can make more decimals displayed, or you can make less decimals displayed with these 2 buttons. And then there's just a drop-down menu for a whole bunch of different options, whether you want to display percent, fraction, time, currency. Some of these we've already talked about. Let's see how many times I can hit undo. Yeah, that was a lot of times. See, it goes pretty far. Which, by the way, I had a memo I wanted to show here. I've talked about this, but I wanted to make sure you saw it written down. Cells are labeled by the column, then the row. I even wrote number there instead of row. Columns are labeled by the column, then the row, so it goes letter number. So cell A1 is the very top left. Cell B5 would be the second column and the 5th row. See, second column, 5th row. This would be cell B5. When you click on a random cell, you might say, oh, well, I've got to figure out where this is, and if I'm really far over, like over here, I got to trace this out. Well, actually, if you just look along the top, the column that it's in is kind of highlighted. Not highlighted, but it's, what's the word I'm looking for? Emphasized. It's shaded, and so is the row. So you can pretty easily see that that's cell T15, cell H9, cell I25. Use your eyes. Also, look right here. Look right here. That shows you the cell reference just directly. F7, M6, E5, E13, P26. Every time I click somewhere else, watch this P26 change to A1 when I click right here. A1. Watch it change to K2. Watch it change to B7. So if you can't trace these back to their roots, you can see it directly labeled right here. All right, so they told us to change it to sales order form. We already did that. And again, when we say A1 or when we say B7 or we say F2 or whatever, those are what we call cell references. We're referencing the specific cell's location. So a cell reference is when we say A2 or B5 or G9 or Z150, whatever. All right, so at this point, it's going to be a little more difficult for me to keep going back and forth. So I want to have my book on half the screen and Excel on the other half of the screen. And I can do it like this. Boom. Okay. Then the fun is trying to get the textbook to look proper. It's always a little of a challenge, but that's okay. Come on, I know you want to work for me. I think that's good enough. All right, so that was weird. That was supposed to be moving with that too. Doesn't matter. I'm not going to mess with this and make it angry and waste time. So click in cell B2. We're going to start building this file.
Okay, so I'm pausing here. I thought I timed it. Okay, so before we actually get into building the Excel file, I wanted to pause. I know that was a great deal of information. It was just showing some of the functions of my math lab. Showing some of the functions of Excel. So I'll pause here. Are there any questions just yet?
No.
Okay, so let's go ahead and actually what I'm going to do is, okay, there we go. So it's starting on page 4. We're on page 4 of section 01. If you want to, get here on this page and have Excel just like the split screen here. So we'll go ahead and continue with the demonstration, and then we'll take like another brief break for questions, and then I'll try not to take so many breaks so that we can kind of get through it. Okay, but let's go ahead and get going. If you have questions now, I'm watching the chat, so please message me in the chat.
Finally, so click in cell B2 and type the word item. We're going to and make it angry. So click in cell B2. We're going to start building this file finally. So click in cell B2 and type the word item. Cell B2, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit, and we're going to type the word item. And if you look down here, and I know it's not very large right now, but this is what we're ultimately trying to build, but we're going to follow along the text to do so. So next, so then they tell us to hit enter. So notice when I type item, and then this is me hitting enter, it goes down. If I type in the word item and then hit the tab button, it goes right. So enter makes things go down, tab makes things go right. So that's the next memo I have right here. Enter makes you go down in Excel, tab makes you go right. If you don't ever use that, that's okay. You can just use your mouse to select as you've already seen me do 10,000 times.
You can't see the video, Ms. Jackson. Thanks.
Okay. Do you see it now? I wonder if it's because I have the chat up.
We can see it now.
Okay, thank you.
So what else are we doing? We're just typing item and that's it. End of the day. No, I'm kidding. Next, we're going to type in the items that you sell, which are soda, water, popcorn, cookie, hot dog. So they're saying for us to type those below items. So we typed in item, we hit enter, and it put us here. So then we type soda, enter, water, enter, popcorn, enter. Sorry if my keyboard's really loud, by the way. Cookie, enter, hot dog. Also, remember how I was talking about the control button can zoom in and out? Control can change a lot of features when you're using your mouse or keyboard. So when I hit enter, I go down. I'm going to hold control down now and hit enter and watch what happens. That's weird. It's not working. Or is it tab? It's supposed to be. Okay, my computer's being goofy. It's supposed to go up or left when you use control. Clearly, my technology's having a mildly bad day, but it doesn't matter. No one really uses that to go left or up. So you don't need to see it demonstrated. Life's fun. Okay, so after we made that column of items, what do they say to do? They say to go to cell C2. So we're in cell C2, and we're going to type in quantity, and then we're going to hit tab to go right. So tab to go right. I'm sorry, it's not control, it's shift. That's what it was. So this is one of the instances where shift actually does it. So if I'm down here, if I hit shift and enter, that was my boo-boo. I'm just used to control doing everything. If you hold shift and enter, it goes up. If you hold shift and tab, it goes left. There we go. All right, so we're on quantity. We hit tab to go right. Then they say to type in cost per item. Then they say to go right and type in cost. So we were here in the textbook. That's how far we've made it. Now, if you look very carefully, and again, I can't zoom in, unfortunately, so hopefully you can either see that, at least see that, look where it says cost per item right here. You can actually see all of the cost per item. Look on what I have, though, it says cost per it. So how do I make it display? Because before I typed cost, it says cost per item, but then there's this like blank space because it's kind of overrunning into the next cell. It's not actually in the cell, it's just visually displayed over it. But when you type something in this cell, it says, well, I got to show that. That takes priority. So check this out. This is really helpful. If you take your mouse and you put it on the line between two columns, so this line splitting the C and D, and I don't mean down here, not here, it has to be between the letters. In fact, watch my mouse change. See how it looks like this thick white plus sign? We're going to talk about this shortly. But it looks like a thick white plus sign pretty much everywhere except here and here, which is very important. But so if I'm just here, this is not demonstrating that I can widen the columns, but when I put it over here, it's now this thin vertical black line with two arrows pointing left and right. That's demonstrating that we can widen the columns. So if I do this one, that's not really helpful because that's widening or thinning, if you will, the quantity section. So we need to do this one between D and E. Let's make it a little wider. Boom. Now we can see cost per item. Much nicer. Now we're ready to enter prices. Admittedly, the textbook and the workbook, I think there's one price that doesn't agree. Let's just go with what we see on my screen currently, though. We can change it later if we feel necessary. If we feel it's necessary. Okay, so in cell D3, type in a 1. So D3. So we're typing the cost per single item of these 5 different things we can purchase. So a soda is $1, so we're going to type 1. Enter. Then they say in cell D4, type 1.25. So water is $1.25. That's kind of annoying to me that water costs more than a soda. But, I mean, what are you going to do? Not the point of the problem, right? And in fact, what I have on my guided activities is that sodas are $2.50 and waters are $1.75. But let's just do what we see for now. Then they say to type in the rest of the prices here of 1.5, so $1.50 for popcorn. 0.5. Now watch this. If I just type 0.5, I don't actually have to type the 0. Excel will make it for me. And then 2. And I think the hot dogs on my worksheet are $2.75. Again, don't worry about the difference in these values too much. It's not the point of the problem. Now, these are not displayed as prices, though. These are actually prices, and we really like things in Excel to be well displayed. That is one of the critical components throughout the semester, to make sure they're well labeled. So how do we do that? We're going to change the format to currency. That's what this purple memo over here says that we already talked about. Now, I'm going to have to maximize this again for you to see it. So if I'm on this cell, click the dollar and it makes it $1. And I could do this individually for all 5 of them. But imagine if you had 10,000 different items you were selling and you had to click these 10,000 times. You're going to be super annoyed. So check this out. Remember I said you can highlight cells? You can highlight a whole different range of cells. You can highlight, I undid it too many times. You can highlight all 5 of these, then hit the currency button. One and done. Beautiful. So again, you can do them individually, or you can highlight those and just highlight these 5 because you can't guarantee that this is a cost. You can't guarantee that this is a cost or a dollar amount. Now the quantity is definitely not a dollar amount. The cost will be, but the Excel formulas we'll use will automatically make that happen, as you'll see. So again, just highlight these 5 for now, which you know should be dollars, and then make it a dollar. Okay, that worked. Perfect. I was a little scared that I was going to have to flip through the book again. All right, so where are we? We were here. Press enter again such that you're in cell D9, or just click to get in cell D9. Click subtotal. Sorry, type subtotal. So they want us here. So they want a blank space. Subtotal. Why do they want a blank space? That was their decision. Doesn't have to be there, but it's fine. Hit enter. Next, type in tax at 8%. And this is something that we're going to change later to make it a little more universal. But for now, let's just type tax, then the at symbol, which is shift and 2, and then 8%. The percent symbol is shift and 5. And then we'll type in total. So what does it look like the point of this is? We've got some store somewhere, or a little pop-up restaurant at a concert venue or something like that, where we're selling soda, water, popcorns, cookies, and hot dogs to people. And we're trying to figure out how many we sold in a day or a week or to one customer, something like that. And we're trying to keep a record of this. So we're going to end up typing how many of these things we sell. We want to have a total cost of the things we sell of each of these. So for instance, if we sold 5 sodas at $1 per, that would be a total cost before tax and everything of $5. But the thing is, most states, 45 of the 50 states, I believe, have sales tax. So this particular state is paying 8% sales tax. So you would have that calculated here after you have a subtotal, which is just adding up all these costs. And then this total would be adding up your subtotal and your tax. And if any of those concepts of how we get a subtotal or how we get tax are, if they're rusty to you, those are things that you should know coming in here. Those are arithmetic and very, very basic algebra concepts. But you'll see me write a couple quick formulas soon, or just scroll them on the screen. You're almost done. Not really. You can finish with a quick formatting choice. Make the words in row 2 all bold by highlighting the cells B2 to E2. So we want these to be bolded. We want these specific cells to be bolded to give them a little visual flair. So we highlight them. We can do the one at a time if we really wanted, but I'm just going to highlight them all. Now again, I need to maximize this. And if you look up here, there's a B button, B for bold. Or you can hit Control and B. So look, if I hit Control B now, it unbolds. If I hit Control B, bold, unbold, bold. Or I can click, click. So again, that's just giving it a little visual flair. Sorry for the there. I try not to too much, but it happens. Okay, I think that's all the format stuff for that page. Moving on. All right, this right here. I'm going to show you my abbreviated version of these notes in a second. Remember I talked about the mouse appearance when you're in Excel? Now, because I don't have Excel activated, it just looks like regular mouse when I click over here. Most of the time, it looks like what we call a thick white plus sign. Thick white plus sign. Come on. So we're here. So most of the time, it looks like a thick white plus sign. See that thick white plus sign? This is when your mouse cursor looks like this, that's how you highlight or activate cells. So to activate a cell means that's the one you're typing in. So if I click here, anything I type or do is going to be referencing cell B9. If I click here, it would be typing in cell E13. So when it looks like a thick white plus sign, you click to make that cell activate and then type in it. Or you can click and drag to highlight cells. Now, typing in that instance doesn't work the same. I generally don't recommend doing that. Highlighting is usually to, like we said, bold things, color them, move things as well. We'll talk about that in a second. So thick white plus sign. It looks like this almost everywhere. The only three places it doesn't really look like that is if you go between the letters or numbers. See, if you go between the numbers like this, you can make them taller. You go between the letters like this, you can make them wider or narrower. So that's one way it can look different. Another way it looks different is if you go around the green border of your active cell. So again, the green shows you what cell is active. Even when you highlight stuff, so now all those cells are active. Notice that the mouse cursor looks different. When I go around this, it looks like a weather vane. Come on, highlight all of that, please, and thank you. There we go. So when I go around the green section of an active cell or active cells, it looks like a weather vane. That changes what your mouse does drastically. So if I just keep highlighting things, I mean, I'm just clicking and dragging, clicking and dragging, clicking and dragging, clicking and dragging, but notice I'm always going to another cell. Or I can click and drag the insides of a cell I'm already in. So I'm not really doing anything besides just highlighting. But if I have some cells or a single cell, let's just highlight cookie. So this is now the active cell. If I click on the border of that cell, with the exception of the very bottom right, notice that the change we'll talk about. If I now click there, instead of highlighting, so I'm not highlighting a whole bunch of different things as I move my mouse cursor, I'm actually just moving that cell. So maybe you accidentally typed cookie here at the beginning for some random reason, and you go, oh, that was supposed to be over here. Instead of deleting it and typing it, you can just make it the active cell. So again, I can't just do that. You have to click it first to make it active, so the green border's around it. Then you put your mouse over anywhere on the border except the bottom right, click, hold, and you can move it. I can highlight a bunch of them and click them and move them. I can move all of this stuff. Highlight, then move. Practice this stuff, practice this stuff, practice this stuff. I can't say it enough. You have to practice. Okay, well, what's up with when you have an active cell, the bottom right little dot there? Why is that dot there? That's what we call the fill handle. So that's called the fill handle. So when you have an active cell, if you put your mouse cursor over that tiny little spot, it becomes a thin black plus sign. So when you're over the fill handle, and I'll have that typed up shortly, it becomes a thin black plus sign. So if you highlight that, if you click and drag, you can only go down or right initially. You can actually do an entire region if you have a row or column highlighted. So when I did that, all the things I had typed over here just disappeared. Let me undo and show you what I did again. So I'm taking this cell, which is blank. I'm putting my mouse over the fill handle. I'm clicking and I'm dragging. I'm going to drag over just to where it says subtotal and watch what happens when I let go of my mouse. Click. It disappeared. What happened here? So there's nothing in this cell. By grabbing the fill handle and moving it somewhere else, I'm telling Excel that I want the rest of the cells to be blank because this one's blank. I want the rest to be blank. That's not something we usually do, but it works. So let me undo that. Check this out. Let me just type the number 7 right here. Random number 7, hit enter. Go back and highlight the cell. Activate the cell, that is. Grab the fill handle and drag it down. Drag it down more. And look, it even says 7 right there. So it's just going to make all those cells say 7 because that's what that cell said. This cell says hot dog. Let me activate the cell, grab the fill handle, and then I got more hot dogs. So that's what the fill handle does. It copy pastes things when you just have a number or a word, kind of. But we generally use it for Excel formulas. Now, remember when I had the 7 there and I grabbed the fill handle and I filled it down? It just says 7s. Check this out though. Control, remember I said control very often changes how things work. If I grab the fill handle hit and hold Control, and even look very carefully. You might notice the top right of my cursor has an extra little plus sign. Look just above where my mouse is. Little plus sign, now it's gone. I'm holding Control, I'm letting go. I'm holding Control, I'm letting go. So when I drag this time and I hold Control, when I let go, it actually increments the numbers. That's really helpful for dates. That's really helpful if you need to write the number, say 1 through 10,000, because you could just write the number 1. Get rid of all these. And then I could drag it down, 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 hold Control. And now I just typed the numbers 1 through 320 without even lifting a finger practically. I mean, I had to lift my finger off Control, but that was the only thing I really had to do. So Control changes how the fill works. Changes how a lot of things work. All right. So thick white plus sign is how you activate a cell or highlight cells. A weather vane is when you're over an active cell, and that's how you move cells. The thin black plus sign is when you're over the fill handle of an active cell, and that's how you fill in formulas, which is our entire purpose of Excel, is to fill formulas. These 3 lines right here. Remember how I just made the numbers 1 through almost 400 in the snap of a finger? That's the point of Excel, what we call batch processing.
Okay. I'm gonna fix it again.
One of the many.
No, not yet.
Any points.
Okay. Is it up there now? Oh, it says it can.
Of Excel, as well as what we call what if analysis, where we can just change things and change things and change things and see how they play out. So you got a job and your boss gives you 10,000 different sets of dimensions, and he wants you to have a formula applied to those dimensions, whatever might be relevant to your job. And he says he wants it on his desk in an hour. And you go, I can't do 10,000 equations in an hour. And then an hour later, you're fired. And it sucks, right? Well, if you had known how to use Excel, you could have said, Bob's your boss. Bob, I'll have that to you in 3 minutes. Because he's going to give you the spreadsheet with the dimensions. So you just type a formula once, you use the fill handle to apply it to all 10,000 times, and your day is done. You're not fired, you get a bonus. Batch processing, very excellent. Okay. Let's continue. So now you can see we want to make some colors, put some colors to this, give it a little more visual flair. So we want to highlight the quantity cells. So that's where thick white plus sign, just click and drag. And then we're going to make them a yellow color. Then we're going to make these kind of a green as well as these 3. So I got to maximize that. So highlight those, and we're going to make them a yellow. It wasn't quite a highlighter yellow. So remember, paint bucket icon, the little drop-down menu to change the color. That's what I did. Again, highlight the 5 cells. Hit the drop-down menu to select the color. Boom, done. Highlight these 5 cells. Drop-down menu, select the color. Look more like that, I think. Boom. Highlight these 3 cells, same thing, but check it out. The paint bucket, it remembers the last thing you used as well as all the currencies, percents, all that stuff. So instead of doing the drop-down menu and picking the green again, I can just hit this and it already does it for us. Notice that these yellow and green sections, they're a solid yellow and a solid green. If you look really carefully at this, there's like a border around them as well as borders between each cell. I don't see that here. So the next thing we want to do is put borders in there. So let's show you how you can do that. Highlight the 5 cells, just those 5 again. This is your border option. Now, currently it's only on bottom border, so it only put a border on the bottom of that one cell. So let's undo. Let's do the drop-down menu, and you want the all borders option. And there you go. There are your borders. There's a lot of different options. Pick whatever's relevant, but it's usually all borders. I use all borders constantly in Excel. Do the same thing here. Now, again, since it was the last thing we clicked, I don't have to do the drop-down menu. Just click that. Highlight these 3 cells. Click. That's it. All right, now let's get into entering formulas. Again, the 2 main points of Excel for us are using formulas to make Excel do the math for us and batch processing. So if I have, let's say I sold, this is me not looking at the book, I sold 7 sodas. I know that the total cost was $7. And I could go in and format it as currency, but I'm not worried about that for now. But if I sold 5 sodas, I got to go and do the math and say, oh, wait, 5 times 1 is 5, so that's $5. Or if I sold 100 sodas, that would be $100. I keep having to type numbers in both. I don't want to have to do that. I want Excel to do half of that for me. I just want to type the number in the soda here. I sold 5 sodas, and then I want Excel to tell me the cost without me doing any math personally. So that's where this stuff comes in. So we're going to use a formula. How do you find the total cost of sodas? It's the number of sodas you buy, or someone else bought, times the cost per soda, the cost per item. This is a very general formula that we'll be using all semester long. We got a lot of very basic formulas that we'll be introducing over the next week and a half that will be used all semester long that you're never allowed to forget, and they would not be on any kind of formula sheet for you. It's just quantity, the number of them, times the cost per item. So you take the number of sodas times the cost per soda, the number of waters times the cost per water. You're just multiplying these 2 numbers. So if I had 2 waters, I'd take 2 times 1.25 and it'd be 2.5. But again, I don't want to do the math. I want Excel to do it for me. So how do we make formulas in Excel? How do we make Excel do the math? You have to start out with an equal symbol. Excel formulas start with an equal sign. So if you want Excel to do calculations for you, the very first thing you type in a cell is equals. And then the blah, blah, blah is just whatever the formula would be. Now with the equals, we're going to be using cell references. I'm not in this cell. Let's say we sold, let me find out how many it's going to be. Come on. 1. All right, so we're going to end up selling 1 soda that day, or maybe 1 soda, 1 customer. So in the cost, because I want Excel to do 1 times 1, which would be 1, I don't just type 1 times 1. It leaves it as 1 times 1. If I type 4 times 7, it leaves it as 4 times 7. But if I go equals 4 times 7, it's going to do the calculation for me and tells me it's 28. Now, what I typed in is still in the what we call the formula bar. This is what I typed in. I typed equals 4 times 7. But watch what happens when I hit enter. It displays the actual answer. It doesn't display the formula. If you double click it, it will display what we typed as a formula, and we can then even enter it. Now 4 times 5. Why is my 5 not working? There we go. And it's 20. Or I can double click to edit it and say it's 4 minus 5, -1. All right, so we have 1 soda and it's $1 per soda, so that should be equals 1 times 1, right? And we can see that we're spending $1 on all our sodas, or they spent $1 on all our sodas. But watch what happens if I change the quantity to 5. The cost doesn't update, but that's what we have Excel for. we want Excel to go ahead and automatically change it. So instead of typing equals 1 times 1, we need to say, hey, Excel, take whatever is in this cell and multiply it by whatever is in this cell. We have to use cell references. So again, cells are things like A5, D4, Q 3000. So this right here is cell C3. There we go, sorry. So this right here is cell C3, C3, C3. This right here is cell D3, D3, D3. So we're going to tell Excel to multiply those. So in the cost section, we type our equals. C3, and look what happens when I type C3. C, nothing's happened yet, but put your eyes right here. 3. It puts a little blue box around it saying, hey, you mean this one? So if I did it wrong, if I type cell C5, I go, wait, nope, that's not the right one. It's supposed to be cell C3. Okay, thank you, Excel. You're very helpful. Times, which is shift and 8, that's your multiplication symbol. And then we want cell D3. So I'm going to type D, and watch this cell when I type 3. Red border, you mean this one. So it's going to tell us to multiply whatever's in these two boxes. And as I update numbers, it will update what the output is. And input is what goes in, which was the numbers in the blue and red boxes, and output is what comes out, which is what you'll see when I hit enter. And look at that. It knows because this was a currency, it should even format the answer as a currency, which is brilliant. So now if I type that we have sold 5 sodas, look at the cost. It's $5. If I sold 100 sodas, there's a cost of $100. If I sold somehow 3.5 sodas, that's a sales of $3.50 before tax. But it was 1, so let's leave it at 1. Okay. So that's what you can see them saying here. That cell, which was E3, now we didn't type the E3, we type this, equals C3 times D3. You don't have to type it though. Let me start from scratch, clear. Activate this cell. Watch what happens if I type C3 times D3. C3 times D3, and I hit enter. Oh no, it didn't work. What did I do wrong? That doesn't make sense. These are things that you should be saying to yourself. Why does it just say C3 times D3? Why doesn't it say $1? What did I forget? The equals. I can even just double click and quickly edit it. Whoops. I'm getting a little careless with my mouse. Put the equals in front, boom. Now it does the math. Check out what happens. All right, well, how much are we spending on water? Well, I don't know the quantity yet. First of all, if a cell is blank, Excel basically thinks of it as a 0. So if I do my formula here, now that should be C4 times D4. So I go equals C4 times D4. The blue and the red show me the boxes, and I go, yep, that's right. But because we didn't sell any waters, the cost is nothing. This little dash means nothing, 0. It's another way of displaying 0. There wasn't enough information to do a calculation. I don't have to use typing though. Check this. This is what I was about to say earlier. I can use my mouse. So I go equals. I do have to type the equals. Instead of typing cell C3, I can click it. You still get that blue border, but because you clicked it, it's, I don't know, I guess it just moves around it to really make sure, hey, are you sure? Now I still have to type my multiplication symbol, and then I can click this cell. Hey, you mean this one? Yes. And look, by using clicks instead of typing the C3 and D3, everything displayed perfectly. I hit enter, I get the same answer. For this one, I could do the same. I can type equals, click the cell, times, click the cell. And I could do that for all 5 of these if I wanted, but I'm not gonna. Because what if there were 10,000 of them? I don't want to do that 10,000 times. So here's the beauty of the fill handle. And I'm going to go ahead and put some numbers over here. I want to skip around just a touch. Let's get the numbers right. I don't know why the book does it this way. It's a little silly, but it's okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's changed. It did not used to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But no matter. No matter. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's make Excel figure out what these formulas are supposed to be in these 4 boxes. That's where the fill handle comes in. So remember, this one was supposed to be C4 times D4. Activate the cell where you typed your formula. So make sure it's activated. Put your mouse over the fill handle so it looks like the thin black plus sign. Not the border. If I do this, I move it. I don't want to move it. I want to grab the fill handle. Click. I'm still holding the click. Left mouse button. And drag it down. Now you can drag it and apply it to a whole bunch of different spots, or you can just do the next one. Let's just do the next one for now. I'm gonna let go. And look at that. 2 times $1.25 is definitely 250. If I double click, or if I just look up here, you can see that Excel has used its computer brain and it said, well, since you drag this formula down a row, you probably want this formula to be applied to the numbers in the next row. And that's exactly what we wanted. So that's awesome. So I can hit enter. I can make this one active, grab the fill handle, drag down, and there we go. I get the next one. I can do it again, and I can do it again. Or what I could do from the beginning is, when I just had the first one, I can click and hold the fill handle. I'm still holding, drag to all 5 spots, 4 extra spots, whatever you want to say. Let go, and it applies the formula all at once. That's why I was saying, if Bob's boss or my boss, whatever the name situation was, this is probably why my computer is stalling, because it needs to restart. It had an update. Sorry about that. So when I clicked and dragged, it applied the formula to all of those. If I did that to 10,000 different rows, I would have 10,000 different sets of data completed within a matter of less than a minute. And that's how you go to your boss, Bob, and say, I'm done in 3 minutes, and you go home for the rest of the day. Versus your other buddy who's working hard for an hour and then gets fired. Okay. So again, have a formula typed. If you want to apply that to the next set of rows, you're going to grab the fill handle and drag it down. There's going to be times when we need to fill a formula to the right. Now, this is not going to make any sense because we're not applying this whole bunch of things. So just why there's all $1, don't worry about it. When you do it in a sensible way, you get sensible answers. You can double click on them to make sure that the cell is right. The blue and the red highlight the boxes and say, hey, you mean these two? Is that the ones we're supposed to multiply? Why, yes, indeed, it is. You can hit enter to get out of that. Check this out. When I'm in an active formula, so I'm in the typing, if I click over here, or I click over here, sometimes it'll act a little goofy. And of course, it's not going to do it to me right now, but that's okay. Let's act like it did something goofy. That's what the undo button is for. All right, we already talked about most of this stuff. Just a couple random definitions, which you can write down in your guided worksheets. We talked about inputs and outputs already. Inputs are the numbers that are typed. Outputs are things that formulas apply to. Variables are the quantities you give them, the specific inputs. Constants are things that don't change, like the 8% or the cost per item. And the cost per item, you could call that a parameter. I'm not going to give you test questions on definitions. It's nice to know them, but you can survive in this course without knowing exactly what those mean, quite honestly. So we've already done all this stuff. We already talked about the filling the formulas. I already showed you, but this is the textbook discussion of it as well. So if you need more, read that. Remember, you're supposed to be working on guided worksheets for this. So the guided worksheets, you see a lot of the same information here. These look about the same, don't they? We typed that in that box. Question 1, which is right here. What formula is entered in cell E3? That was where we typed something in here, and that was the equals C3 times D3. How do you fill this formula down? Grab the fill handle and drag. I'm not going to answer all of those questions for you, but please complete those on your own. As I said, we will be having discussion boards on those. I'm going to think over the weekend how much of a discussion board I want for this one, but for now I'm leaving it open because
We do not have discussion boards. Come back to my math lab. Uh-oh, sorry. It'll probably help me if you can like unmute and ask your questions because it's so many. Okay, wait a minute. What is going on? Okay, let's see. So it's still saying
So the assignment itself just says that it doesn't have a due date. There's no due date and there's no points. And it says that there's no additional details for the assignment. That's basically what it's saying right now.
okay, let me unpublish it and I will go back and fix that. I don't know if everything on my end looks fine. I don't know if maybe it takes a minute to create the actual assignment. So thank you for letting me know. But I'm gonna unpublish just for the moment, and then before it will, I'll have it make sure that it's uploaded for you this evening or first thing in the morning. I don't know why on my end everything is, up and running, but again, like I said, I think it just might need a minute to create the activity. It might need a minute to create the space because it has to create it in a grade book too. Okay. Are there any other questions before we look at the second half? How are we feeling? This is just one of them tougher classes to teach online. It really is. Because typically what would have happened is you would work in groups on this chapter, on this chapter 0's Excel assignment. And it's just a productive struggle. Like you guys will work together, read the steps, ask questions about particular steps. But I'm just trying to present the activity to you.
Ms. Jackson, can I just ask you a quick question?
Yes, of course.
Okay, I withdrew from this class the semester before. Well, when COVID happened, it was just